hello, I'm going to tell you something about TEEB in the Netherlands. As Leon told, also in the Netherlands, NEA is performed. Dick Melman has worked on it. The scope of the TEEB Netherlands is somewhat different, as Leon told, and I'm going to tell you something about the outline. We started only this year, so I can't show results from outcomes or something, but I will show you the outline. The study is financed by the government, the Dutch government, and it's embedded in the European biodiversity strategy. So we hope to deliver some things that are going to work also not only in the Netherlands but also on the European platform. We want to show economic value of ecosystem services for government, business and civil society. So that's a lot of people involved and a lot of stakeholders involved. And we also want to look at supporting decision making of policymakers and large investments. So two roads we're going to follow, and that must lead to prospects for stakeholders of sustainable use of ecosystem services. Ecosystem services, I think everybody in this room is familiar with it. We're going to look on production services, regulation services and cultural services. It's important to make this distinction because when you want to evaluate, you have to look different to different ecosystem services, but they all come together in TEEB studies. Also this framework, we're going to follow this framework, we're going to integrate economic and ecological aspects. That's very important because formerly mainly ecologists did research by their own and just gave biological information, but it's difficult to evaluate, so policymakers and other investors do not pick up the messages that come out from ecological studies. So we try to do so in this study that everybody can pick it up. The TEEB Netherlands is composed of several sub-studies, mainly 5. TEEB Fiscal Netherlands, that has a spatial look of view, product chains, the small companies, SMEs. There's also a TEEB in the cities, and there's a TEEB on the Caribbean part of the Netherlands, the best islands, Bonaire, Eustatius and Sama. It's a very hot place in the Netherlands. The Best Islands just recently came to the Netherlands as a community, and by that the biodiversity of the Netherlands doubled. Here are the partners that are working in the several studies with the leading parties addressed for the sub-studies, but there is integration of all partners across all studies. As Leon told, we're following the TEEB methodology, and we're working out as a first step to identify and assess indicators, and mapping and quantification we find is very important, and that's what we focus on this year. We're focusing on the methodology that can be applied to show indicators and how to do the mapping and the quantification, and also valuation. And we're not only going to evaluate ecosystem services in monetary values, but also in the process for decision making. And then also as a third step, how can you capture those values, because you have to make the work them in practice. For this study we put on the road a lot of case studies in the Netherlands, and we put some selection criteria, and we scored all case studies on those criteria. And the criteria are which kind of ecosystem is it, which phase of the project is it finished or is it ongoing, what's the size of the case study, the methodology, and the stakeholders involved also with the different case studies. We also looked at ecosystem services involved in the case studies, and we want to have a nice spreading over all these case studies. But these are a bit too much case studies to get in our study, so we made a selection. And the one in yellow, that are the selected case studies. I present some maps to give an overview over where the different case studies are in the Netherlands. So you get a bit of an idea of all the case studies we've looked at and we've selected. The Haarlemmermeer, that's in the area of Amsterdam. There's a lot of pressure from the city, so recreation is very important there, but there's also a water problem to be solved because it's very low. The soil is very low, lower than sea level. Bijzelmade, that's a case study in the north of the Netherlands. Some years ago, there was a lot of water in the Netherlands. The rivers were very high, and there were some problems in that area, by which the city of Groningen, in the northern part of the Netherlands, was getting underwater partly. We also look at some marine case studies. So we've selected an offshore wind park, and we've selected the Waddenzee. The Waddenzee is a Natura 2000 area, so it can be interesting, combining economic development that's foreseen there with nature goals. So in 2011, we want to make an analysis of the case studies to get the methodology better, and we're going to do the mapping, the quantifying, and evaluation contribution to decision making. And in 2012, we're going to select a new set of case studies in which we're going to give an overview of ecosystem services and their costs and benefits in the Netherlands and the best practices of evaluating for decision making. And from this study there are coming some questions. They will rise up: ecosystem services, ecosystem contribution versus human input, a basis for valuation. It's always the question whether you should use ecosystem services or technical solution. You can choose for them, and you can make a cost analysis, what can be cheapest, but what also can be more sustainable. And also the validation paradigm is coming up, that we have to choose for sustainable futures or for efficient present. Do we want to have most benefits at this time, at this moment, or can we invest for the future? And benefits, the scale of the benefits and the cost, they are spread from the regional level and the regional level, but there's also a national and international dimension, and we have to deal with that, how that can be calculated to the different regions and the different countries. And finally, we have to think about policy instruments and actions, so we give advices to policymakers and other researchers which things have to develop into TEEB studies. Thank you for your attention.